Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Radha Shama Sundar, Radha Shama Sundar, Jaya Radha Shama Sundar, Radha Shama Sundar, Jaya Krishna Balaram, Jaya Krishna Balaram, Krishna Balaram, Jaya Krishna Balaram, Jaya Krishna Balaram,
Krishna Balaram, Krishna Balaram, Jaya Krishna Balaram.
Jaya Gauranita, 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 Jaya Gauranita,
Jaya Gauranita, 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 Jaya Gauranita.
Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada,
Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Srila Prabhupada. So Srila Prabhupada is still in Vrindavan. It's September 1974. Prabhupada is recovering slowly, but already he's done 7 world tours to see all of his temples. Prabhupada's mood was that unless he kept traveling, 1974, he was born in 1896. It means he was already 78 years old. And in the last 5 years, he had just gone around the world 7 times. That means more than once in a year. But Prabhupada's health still hadn't recovered. Even in that poor health, he was still writing to the devotees, doing his correspondence. He had started his translations again. At that time, the upstairs room wasn't yet complete, so we set up everything right here at his desk for him to do the translation so it would be easier. And one day, September 19th, just before he left for Mayapur, he wrote a letter to the temple president in New York City. And he said that every day I'm attending morning and evening program in the temple. So do not be a bigger Paramahamsa than your Guru Maharaj. Everyone must attend Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita class. So Prabhupada set that example. He said, no other business. Just recently, Gargamuni Prabhu wrote a little explanation. He said, what is the biggest offense? And he said, the biggest offense is if you get up while Prabhupada is giving a lecture and leave the lecture because you have some work to do. So Prabhupada himself was very strict about the morning and evening programs. He said only chanting, dancing, and hearing the lectures, morning and evening for the devotees, no other business. So that was September 19th. He set that program for all the devotees. And then on the 21st, Srila Prabhupada left because the weather gets nicer in Mayapur at that time. He thought that he would be able to recover more quickly there in Mayapur. So September 21st, he leaves for Mayapur. And what happens next is, because Prabhupada had thought the grand opening was going to happen, he did invite some God brothers, he did invite some of the devotees from all around the world. About 300 devotees had showed up. So they were staying, some were staying in Fogel Ashram, some were staying just across the road here. Now at that time, just across the road, now you have Ban Maharaj Engineering College, Law College, all kinds of different colleges. But what that was it was the Institute for Oriental Philosophy. It was practically nothing was going on there. There were some buildings and they were always empty. So Prabhupada asked his Guru Bhai if the devotees could stay there. They were staying there. There was a deity of Bhakti Siddhanta. And Prabhupada, while he was staying here for that month, he came on August 4th, left September 21st, month and a half, he was even then looking around for land. So he asked his Guru Bhai, Ban Maharaj, would you like to donate this land? We have to make a Gurukula and we have to make a Goshala. Ban Maharaj wasn't interested in donating, but he did allow the devotees to stay there at least. So Prabhupada had a disciple named Pranav. Pranav and his wife Vanamalini, they were one of the first Indian devotees who joined in Calcutta. They were Marwadis. They came here to retire in Vrindavan. And Prabhupada gave Pranav the assignment to find land with sweet water, because we had to grow grasses for the cows to start a Goshala, because Krishna Balaram were going to need milk. So that was the main assignment for Pranav at that time. Then Prabhupada came to Mayapur, and because Prabhupada hadn't been traveling for a month and a half, as soon as Prabhupada stopped traveling, trouble started brewing in all the temples. So particularly, just at that time, we had heard that the Bangladeshi war and the devotees were collecting for food relief. And what the devotees were doing was they were making albums, record albums, saying it was for the Bangladeshi refugees, collecting money, but not sending the money to India. They were using it for their temple development. And particularly this was going on in Germany. So finally the law caught up with the government. They closed down the temple, and something went wrong. Did you see there? Ansaduta, he had to leave Germany, so Prabhupada sent him to the UK. The UK already had their management, but then Hansaduta was sent there and there was a conflict. So Prabhupada was trying to rest in Mayapur. It was the last thing he needed was to hear about devotees arguing and fighting. But the temple president felt it was very important Prabhupada understand what was going on in the UK at the Bhaktivedanta Manor. So he devised a plan. One of the earliest devotees who joined in UK, that was Dhananjaya. This is Dhananjaya Prabhu. We all need to pray for Dhananjaya. He's in the hospital with Corona right now, COVID. So he was our first temple president here when the temple opened. So the temple president in Bhaktivedanta Manor wrote a letter for Prabhupada. He didn't want to mail it. He was afraid it wouldn't arrive there. So he got a ticket for Dhananjaya, and he asked Dhananjaya to personally deliver it to Prabhupada in Mayapur. Now Dhananjaya didn't mind that. It meant he was going to Mayapur. So, and not only that, Dhananjaya was a great pioneer. He joined in 1969 when Jamuna and Guru Das and everyone were had started the London temple, Soho Street. But then he went to Amsterdam, he opened a temple, then he went to Rome and opened a temple, and he had just come back to the UK. So the next thing he wanted to do was open a temple in Sri Lanka. So he thought, well, this is a great opportunity for me because I can go now directly to Prabhupada and ask him if I can open a temple in Ceylon. So Dhananjaya arrives in Mayapur. Prabhupada, he needs to rest. And Prabhupada's secretary at that time is Brahmananda Swami. Brahmananda Swami, nobody could get past Brahmananda. We all know that. So when he saw Dhananjaya arrive in Mayapur, at that time Mayapur was just a construction site. The Lotus building hadn't even been finished yet. He said, "What are you doing here?" That's the way he greeted him. He said, I brought a letter for Prabhupada. He said, "Give me that letter." "You're not giving anything to Prabhupada. He needs to rest. Don't you tell Prabhupada anything about what's going on in the UK. You tell him you have to deal with me." And that meant trouble. So then Dhananjaya didn't know what to do because the Brahmanan took the letter from him. He said, "You can go up and see Prabhupada, but don't tell him anything." Because he knew Prabhupada would get an anxiety because there was a problem. So Dhananjaya went up to Prabhupada's room. This is Prabhupada's room in Mayapur. Prabhupada's sitting there, and in his room there were about 6 sannyasis and GBCs, all the big shots over on that side of India. He was talking with them. So Dhananjaya offers his obeisances, and he's sitting there. And he said, he was thinking, now I can ask about Sri Lanka. Just as he walks in, Prabhupada starts talking about Sri Lanka. And he mentions a Bengali proverb. And this Bengali proverb is that anyone who steps in Sri Lanka becomes a Ravana. So Dhananjaya, he says, this might not be the right time for me to open a temple there then. So then he got a little scared because he's sitting there, he's a grihastha, there's all these sannyasis and GBCs sitting in Prabhupada, and he's afraid, he's thinking, what if Prabhupada asks what I'm doing here? Why did I come here? So there was a long silence. Nobody said anything. Suddenly Prabhupada, he points his finger at Dhananjaya, and he says, "I want you to be the temple president of our Vrindavan temple." And all the GBCs and sannyasis say, "Jai!" Everyone says Jai except for Dhananjaya. And Prabhupada asked everybody, "What do you think of that idea?" "This is a very great idea, Prabhupada." Nobody else wanted to do it. So Prabhupada looked around the room and he said, there are enough GBCs in the room, I think we have a quorum. That means if you have a meeting and there are enough members, you can make a resolution. So on the spot, Prabhupada's desk is right in front of him, he had a little exercise book, a copy. He pulled the copy out from under his desk, he got a pen, and he started writing in hand. At a meeting of the Bureau of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, it has been resolved that Dhananjaya Das Adhikari will be the president of Iskcon Vrindavan. And then he signed it. And then he passed the exercise book around to all the GBCs and they all signed it. Then he looks at Dhananjaya and he asks everyone to leave the room. So Prabhupada and Dhananjaya are alone in the room together. And Prabhupada says, what do you think of this? And Dhananjaya didn't know what to say. He said, "I'm very honored, Prabhupada. Whatever you want me to do, I want to do." So the first question Prabhupada asks is, "Where's your wife?" "She's in the UK." "You tell her to come here immediately." Because Prabhupada explained to him, wherever the wife is, the husband is sure to follow her. So he said, "You have to send her here immediately, because if you're going to be the temple president, it means you're going to stay here, so she has to come and be with you." So he sent Dhananjaya on a secret mission, because after the grand fiasco the month before in Vrindavan, Gurudas and Jamuna had decided they needed a rest. They were going to leave India. Shrutakirti, who had taken care of Prabhupada 24 hours a day when he was sick, he then himself got very sick with malaria here in Prabhupada's house. So Prabhupada sent him back to rest also. Bharadraj and Rukmini also went back. It was a time when a lot of devotees got sick and they had left. So Prabhupada had temporarily appointed his secretary, who we saw yesterday, Harikesh Das Brahmachari, to be the temple president here. And what he was doing actually was, he was just here with Gunarnava and Surab while the whole construction was going on. By that time they had 350 workers, 24-hour shift. At night they had the lights strung all over the whole property. The whole inner courtyard was a huge carpenter workshop. And basically Harikesh was sitting here chanting Hare Krishna and making sure everything was going on around the construction. So Prabhupada says to Dhananjaya, I want you to go to Vrindavan. Do not tell Harikesh that we have appointed you as temple president. He thinks he's the temple president. But I want you to go there, and Pranav is looking for land with sweet water. And I want you to report to me whether the land is suitable or not, and send me the papers. So immediately Dhananjaya leaves for Vrindavan, and because they all thought there was going to be a grand opening, Prabhupada's sister came also. And when he went on to Mayapur, Prabhupada's sister was still here. And she wanted to go, of course, wherever Prabhupada had gone. He had gone to Bengal. She wanted to return now to Bengal too. But she was all alone. So she needed someone to go back with her. So Dhananjaya came here. None of us understood why he was here. He was very friendly and everyone was happy to see him. But nobody knew why he was here. So he gets together with Pranav and he goes to look at the land. Now this Ban Maharaj's college, part of the land, because at that time it was totally empty, there was nothing there, just like 3 buildings. And way on the corner of where now is Keshav Kunj, there was a church. And this church was always locked. Nobody ever went in. I mean, what was the church doing in Vrindavan? What was that?
It was a bus parking area.
Bus parking? No, there were no buses. There was nothing. It was just a church. It had a cross on it, and the door was always locked. It was little, about the size of this room. So they were looking at that land, and Prabhupada was hoping that they could get that land, because Ban Maharaj didn't want to give his land. He wanted to get that land, and he was explaining that agriculturally, in the rainy season, people come and, they do in the morning time they do the business, and in the rainy season all that mixes up and it makes the land very fertile and we can grow a lot of greens for the cows. He was explaining how we can take care of the cows and everything. It would be right near the temple. But the water was salty. So that was the big problem here in Vrindavan. That everywhere they tried to get land, and there were offers, they couldn't get any land with sweet water. So Dhananjaya wrote to Prabhupada, and again the problem was how to get the mail to Mayapur. So now there were 2 reasons why Bengal had to be contacted. One is someone had to take Pishima back to Calcutta, and the other is Dhananjaya had to deliver this letter. So Pishima decided she wanted me to take her back. So they call me one day and they say, well, Pishima wants you to go with her to Calcutta. So the 2 of us ride in the Tufan Express together 3 days, and it just so happens that Pradyumna and Arundhati are on the same train in the same car with us. So it's the 4 of us traveling together. Pradyumna was going to meet Prabhupada in Mayapur, and we were going to Calcutta. So the 4 of us all got together. Of course the train had to break down, and we were stuck in the middle of nowhere. We had to carry Pishima across the tracks into a fish train, sitting with all the fish, We finally got to Calcutta, and Pishima wants to feed us. She takes us to her house, and when Pishima cooks, because of course Pishima learned from her mother, and that's the way Prabhupada ate. And she was an incredible cook. Even when Prabhupada couldn't eat, she would cook the most amazing things for Prabhupada, and just by looking at it, his appetite would increase. In fact, one time here, when she was cooking and Prabhupada was sick, she kept making every day the Jagannath Chana dal, which is a sweet dal. And now Prabhupada couldn't eat. And he told Pranav that day, he said, every day she makes this and every day I can't eat it. You know, because it's his sister, he was complaining. So Pranav takes it very seriously. And he comes storming into the kitchen. And he says, why are you making this dal every day? Prabhupada, he can't eat it. And she yells right back at him. She says, you don't understand the Guru. If he wants to eat rocks, he can eat rocks. And she still kept making the dal every day for him. So they had such a wonderful rasa together. So she cooked for us that day, and by the end of the meal, we were all just collapsed on the floor. We couldn't even move. And she packed a tiffin for Prabhupada, and the three of us went on to Mayapur because Dhananjaya had given me that letter to bring for Prabhupada. So we reach Mayapur 9 o'clock at night. Pitch dark, there's no electricity. Somehow or other we found our way to the land. We got there. We're staying on the construction site. 9 o'clock at night, the devotees find out that we arrived, the three of us. And Shrutikirti comes to me. I tell him I have to bring this letter for Prabhupada from Dhananjaya. And he said, Prabhupada's going to call you at 9:30 tomorrow morning. But be careful. Watch out. I said, what's the matter? Because Shrutikirti had joined at the Philadelphia temple. He was up there. So he said, you be careful. He said the same thing. He said, the GBC wants to send you back to collect your Mayapur and Vrindavan. So the whole night, couldn't sleep. I didn't know what Prabhupada was going to say to me. I didn't know what to tell Prabhupada. I didn't know, I knew what happened with Dhananjaya. Whatever the Guru says, you have to do what he says. So 9:30, we go to see Prabhupada. I give him the letter. And Dhananjaya had written that Prabhupada, the land wasn't suitable. We canceled the deed. There's no land available right now that we can find with sweet water. And Harikesh is looking at me very curiously, so I'm going to Delhi. I'm going to learn how to make life members for Tejas Prabhu, the temple president there. And also, Dhananjaya, he checked with the Minister of Home Affairs. They were looking into getting long-term visas for the devotees at that time. Because India used to be a part of the British Commonwealth, when they broke away, they made an agreement that all the Commonwealth citizens were allowed to stay in India without visas. But anybody else, they didn't want. So Dhananjaya, he was a Commonwealth citizen, and the Americans, they really didn't want. But that's why Dhananjaya went in Delhi to find out if there was any progress for getting long-term visas for the devotees from America and different places, because Prabhupada knew that our temple here, very few Indian devotees were joining, so he expected we were going to need at least 50 foreign devotees to run the temple here. So he had to get these visas for the devotees. So this is later, after Dhananjaya is appointed the temple president, and then he's on a morning walk with Prabhupada. There on the left, this is Pranav. This is one of Prabhupada's godbrothers, Dr. Verma. If you go to the Jagannath, it's a place called Jagannath Puri, right in front of the Sri Krishna Janmastan. His house is right in front of the Sri Krishna Janmastan. He was an army doctor who retired, and Prabhupada invited him to take part in our temple here. He used to come and serve the devotees and live here in one of the rooms with his family. Very nice devotees who always, again, always supported Prabhupada, always tried to help him. And here's Gunarnava struggling at that time. This is just here where they're doing the construction here now too. Gunarnava, in 8 months, he has to get the whole guest house done. So he's here with the workers. Gunarnava, Saurabh, this time he wrote to Prabhupada that we're having trouble getting coolies because 350 men were working. So Prabhupada said, well, coolie means inexperienced. So we have a lot of inexperienced devotees. I'll write to all the temples and tell them to send their devotees to you and they can work like coolies. So anyway, give Prabhupada the letter, and Prabhupada, we're in the room with Prabhupada, and he says to me, they want you to collect for Mayapur in Vrindavan. He doesn't say, I want you to collect. He says, they want you to collect. And I said to Prabhupada, because I was waiting to see what Prabhupada would say, I said, Prabhupada, if they want me to collect, then let me learn the way Giriraj does it in Bombay. It's too unintelligent the way I do it. I stand on a street corner, I get $1 from this person, $1 from that person. But Giriraj, he goes to one person and he gets 1 lakh of rupees. So Prabhupada, he listened to what I said, and then he turns over. It was the same group of sannyasis and GBCs. And he looks at them and says, force does not work. You cannot force. He said, that is the way of, and then he mentioned the GBC of New York who tried to force me to stay in New York and not come to Vrindavan. Prabhupada knew everything. He knew everything. He said, that is the way of so-and-so. And then he looked back at me and he said, so what is your idea? So my idea was to come to Vrindavan and set up book distribution and a reception here. Because I knew as soon as the temple was opened, we'd have to preach. That's what the temple's for. I wanted to make a beautiful reception area with books everywhere, and I already had it built in my head. But that was 8 months away. So I said, oh no, if I tell Prabhupada that idea now, then he'll say, okay, and these 8 months you can go and collect. So I said, then I expressed my whole heart to Prabhupada. I said, Prabhupada, wherever I go, as soon as I open up one of your books, a whole crowd of people come. Because your books are the most beautiful books in the world. So what I really want to do is, I want to do just like what Sasrup Maharaj is doing in America. I want to put your books in all the schools and libraries in India. When Prabhupada heard that, he was, in the bhajans where it says, a million, Koti Chandra. It's exactly what Prabhupada looked like. He was so happy when he heard that. And he said, wherever she goes, she must distribute my books. And then he said, call Brahmananda. Brahmananda comes in the room. And Prabhupada, he explains, he said, we've just got our first shipment of books. And all the books are on the boats in Bombay. I want you to go to Bombay immediately and start this program. So when Brahmananda came, he said, Brahmananda, you read the inventory of all the books that have just come. And Brahmananda reads the inventory. Gee, there's a whole, ship of books. And then he says, you go there now and let us see if you can clear the stock. So we had just arrived at 9 o'clock at night, and it was 9:30 in the morning. At 10 o'clock, Prabhupada had a taxi for us to take us to Calcutta to go to Bombay. He said, I'm coming in 15 days, and I will train you how to distribute books in India. So he got us on that train. We went to to Bombay, and he started the Iskcon library party in India. And sure enough, in 15 days, Prabhupada went there. He trained us every night how to distribute his books in libraries and universities, who to go to. He knew Bombay he knew everything in Bombay, and none of us could understand how he knew Bombay so well. Prabhupada, every night he would tell us where to go the next day. You should go to this college, that university, this bhavan, there, you take this train, like that. So we would do exactly what he said. And one day, I'm digressing because it comes around, I'm sorry. We can just go back to this. So anyway, after 8 months, we meet Prabhupada again after we've gone all over India with the library party. And Prabhupada, he stayed till October 31st.
But you came back to Vrindavan. You came back to Vrindavan.
No, we spent those 8 months doing the library party. And then Prabhupada, he came on October 31st. Prabhupada was feeling well enough, so he came to Bombay. That was, when he gave us all that training. And he thought he wanted to go there to get the permit to start the construction of the Bombay temple. But there were a lot of delays. So he sent us out all over India to do the book distribution. In the meantime, Prabhupada had to sit there in Bombay until January 25th because they weren't giving permission. When they finally got permission to start the temple construction, then he started his 8th world tour. He went to Hong Kong and Tokyo and Hawaii, Los Angeles. Then he went down for the first time to South America, then up to America, then to Europe. Then he went to Iran for the first time. And then on March 31st, Prabhupada came back to India. Now, when Prabhupada was in Bombay, the new governor of UP had made a surprise visit to our construction site here. And his name was Governor Marty Chenna Reddy. He was from Andhra. And he was a great devotee of Krishna. That's why he came here. When Prabhupada heard that he had come here, see, the date of the letter is November 17th, he wrote a letter to Governor Reddy inviting him to be the chief guest of the grand opening. He said, "You're a great devotee of Krishna, and you're also our life member, so we would like to put your name on the invitation." This time it was going to happen, as our chief guest. And Governor Reddy accepted the invitation. So now Prabhupada was starting to send the invitations everywhere, but he was still pushing Saurabh, like anything, to finish the construction. He wrote to Saurabh that he said, "You tell me frankly if this is going to happen or not. It must happen." So then he said, "And after this temple, I want you all to become world leaders. It's not a difficult thing." Because actually, Gunarnav and Saurabh, they were working like crazy to get this temple done. But once the temple was going to be finished in 8 months, they didn't know what was going to happen to their life. So Prabhupada told them he was going to make them into world leaders. So here's Prabhupada. This is the grand opening time, just so you can see who Governor Reddy is. But these are fast forwards. This is when Saurabh, because Governor Reddy was the first guest with all of his entourage to stay in our guest house. But we're jumping ahead a little bit. Prabhupada, he had sent invitations to all these Goswamis and Acharyas, and they were all going to come to the grand opening this time. Now Prabhupada, with this grand opening, before he said he only wanted Pradyumna to do the installation, he only wanted our devotees to do the dressing and everything. This time, Prabhupada changed his mind, and he decided that he had to have a local purohit do the puja. Because if they do it, that means they're going to have to accept that Krishna has now appeared. So he started to interview and look around for who was going to be that purohit. Of course, Prabhupada was still traveling, so he couldn't meet them yet. This is advanced. And then Prabhupada told Brahmananda that I want as many foreign devotees to come as possible for the grand opening. And because we know that Gaur Purnima, that's in Falgun, and then Ram Nomi, it's like 45 days afterwards. It's a long time for the foreigners to stay in India. So, and the Gaur Purnima festival is just 1 week in Mayapur and 1 week in Vrindavan. That's 2 weeks. There's an extra month in between there. So the devotees had to stay in India for 45 days. It means they had to get special visas, they had to get special plane tickets, everything special this year for the devotees to stay longer. So Prabhupada, he told Brahmananda to arrange all of this, to write to the temples that they should send all devotees, as many as possible, just keep skeleton crew in the temples and send all the devotees here. And then Brahmananda says to him, Prabhupada, there's a petrol shortage, and probably the cost of the tickets is going to go up a lot next year. So Prabhupada looks at him and he asks him a question. He says to him, in your whole life, how much have you eaten? And Brahmananda says, well, quite a lot. And Brahmananda couldn't understand why Prabhupada asked him that. And then Prabhupada said to him, and how much have you spent on all that you've eaten? And Brahmananda says, well, I don't know how much I spent on all I've eaten. So just because the price of food goes up, does that mean you stop eating? So he says, if you have money, you spend it. So if the devotees have the money to buy the tickets, whatever the tickets cost, they should buy the tickets and come here for the grand opening. Now, so many devotees wanted to come to the grand opening that the person who was in charge now, this was the second Mayapur Vrindavan festival of Iskcon. 74 was the first one, this is 75. But they had already assigned someone in charge of all of the festival travels. And his name was Mahendra Das. He lived in Los Angeles. And he decided that there were going to be enough devotees coming this year. You see so many devotees. It's going to be enough to fill a whole jet plane. So he decided to rent an entire jet plane, a 747, which is the most modern jet plane at that time. It held like 700 people. And he had a whole plan. How was he going to do it? He was going to start with the devotees on the west coast of America, put them all in a plane, take that plane to New York City, get all the East Coast devotees, put them in the plane, fly the plane to London, and get all the devotees in Europe into the plane, and then fly to Calcutta. Now Calcutta, at that time, Dum Dum Airport, was about one building. So this jet airplane was the first jet that ever landed in Calcutta. When the devotees got on the plane, they got on in London, and then it takes 6 hours to get to America, and then it takes like another 7 or 9 hours to get to London. All the devotees in London had prepared prasadam for all the devotees. They get on the plane, and it's Mangalarti time. And in those days, they didn't have little screens, they just had one big screen at the front of the plane for the movie. So instead of the screen, they make an altar of Gaur-Nitai. And it's Mangalarti time on the plane. And they start dancing and singing and jumping. And suddenly, the pilot gets onto the PA system. And he says, you're all going to have to stop. I'm losing control of the plane. So the stewardesses, they have to get all the devotees to sit down in their chairs, and they continue Mangalarti sitting down, and the whole rest of the trip, they had to sit down. So then they arrive in Dum Dum Airport, Calcutta. They come to Mayapur. Mayapur's with the devotees for a week there. But Prabhupada, he knew that something's, Saurabh and Gunarnava are busy with the construction. They're working like crazy, 24 hours a day. There are no temple devotees. Everybody's been kicked out because of the construction. Dhananjaya, Harikesh, he had gone to New York, so Dhananjaya now was the temple president. He had come here. And when the sannyasis heard that Prabhupada had appointed a grihastha as a temple president of Vrindavan, they wouldn't allow it. They went to Prabhupada and they said, Prabhupada, you have to have a sannyasi as a temple president. And Prabhupada, being the perfect manager of Iskcon, he said, all right, we will have 2 temple presidents. We'll have an external temple president and we'll have an internal temple president. The external temple president will be a sannyasi because he'll be traveling and preaching all the time. And the internal temple president will be Dhananjaya, and he will take care of all of the departments in the temple. Dhananjaya, when we interviewed him, he told us that actually he collected more in 1 week than that Akshayananda Swami collected in 1 month. Because when you're sitting in, Prabhupada explained to us for collection that if you're sitting in one place, then people come to you. But if you're traveling around, he gave the example, because in those days, there were no shops in the front. There was only one shop, and that was Biharilal's shop. And he used to sell dahi and make lassis. It was just one little jhompri, and people would sit there, he was a tea stall, and make lassis. So he would have a good business, because he had a little shop there. But then there was another man that used to ride around on a bicycle all over the place. Dahi lelo, all day long he'd be calling dahi. And he'd have to go to everybody's house. So for him it was a big job. To sell a little bit of dahi, he'd have to go into every house and yell on his bicycle. So Prabhupada explained that if you're in one place, you can collect more than if you travel around. So Dhananjaya said, yeah, that's exactly what happened with this 2 temple president thing. He was collecting like anything because all of the people were coming to the temple. Akshayananda was struggling, traveling all over the place, trying to make life members. So, where were we? Yes, Prabhupada was in Mayapur. It was 2 weeks until the temple opening. He decided he had to send an advance party of devotees because there were no devotees. So he picks a group of devotees. We had come with Prabhupada because we met Prabhupada in Calcutta, and Pishma needed help again. So Pishma had me stay there and help her with the cooking. Then we all went in a caravan with Prabhupada, 6 cars, to Mayapur for that big festival. As soon as we got there, Prabhupada decided we have to come here to Vrindavan, get his house ready for when he arrives. And he sent, the director of the grand opening was going to be Bhavananda Goswami, because he was, Prabhupada at that time, he was an incredible leader. Prabhupada said he could do the work of 10 men. So that was 10 men right there. And then he sent a few other devotees to help Bhavananda. So we all arrive here. We thought we had 2 weeks to get the place together, because at that time, the temple was still a construction site. There were carpenters. I mean, you know that the courtyard is sunken down. So there wasn't water there. It was all this wood shavings. It was like an ocean of wood shavings there. And and they had 5 different departments of carpenters. One set of carpenters was making the doors for the front of the temple. One set of carpenters was making the 3 doors for the altars. One set of carpenters was making the singasans. One set of carpenters was making all the beds, desks, and chairs for the 44 rooms in the guest house. And one set of carpenters was making all of the chairs and the tables for the restaurant. So they were like 100 carpenters working in that one space, and everything was just completely not ready. Nothing was ready. So Bhavananda gets here to clean up the temple. We had to clean up the whole place, and everything that was supposed to go in the temple was here in Prabhupada's house. The deities were here, the clothes were here, all the pots were here, all the sewers were here, everything was here crushed in Prabhupada's house. So we thought, okay, we've got 2 weeks, we'll get some devotees, we'll get some help. We arrived one morning, there was no place for us to stay. They sent us to Loy Bazaar. In Loy Bazaar there's a place called Basant Dharmshala behind now they have this big, you'll see it behind near the Sabji Mandi. Anyway, Mangal Arti time, we walked from Loy Bazaar to get here, and Mangal Arti was going on in Prabhupada's room here, because that was our only place. We're all here, there are like 10 of us. Bhavananda, after Mangal Arti, he makes an announcement. He says, last night I got a telegram, Prabhupada is arriving in 13 hours. So in 13 hours, we had to do what we thought we had 2 weeks to do. You never saw anything like it in your whole life. It was, you couldn't even think. Bhavananda, he took charge of the whole place, and with his force and his power, he had this whole place cleaned up in 13 hours. By 7 o'clock in the evening, when Prabhupada arrived here, it was as if the temple was ready to open. The deities were already in the temple. They had carried the deities out. He had 2 brahmacharis, one at the shoulders, one at the feet. They carried them out. They got every single bucket that was in the whole project. They washed down the whole altars. They got all the carpenters out. They put all the furniture in the guest house. Prasanatma was here. He was Bhakta Padmanabh at that time. They assigned him to be the guest house manager. So he had to quickly he used the word configure. He had to configure how to get all this furniture into all the rooms, And then they had to set up the restaurant. I mean, this was 13 hours. We had to do 2 weeks worth of work. So Prabhupada arrives that evening. And this time, all right, please. Don't. Okay. Now, let's see. This is construction. We heard the story already about the domes. Here we are. This is Mayapur. You see all those devotees. They were so happy. This is when Prabhupada took the devotees, because that in-between time, 15 days, so they arranged a Pando program in Hyderabad, where there was going to be another big temple. So this is Achyutananda Swami there, and all the devotees, what they did was they got a whole, not a bogie, they made a whole train of devotees, 1,000 devotees, and they filled up that train. They went from Calcutta to Hyderabad in that train, and then from Hyderabad they came to Mathura. It was, we won't discuss how difficult that was. So, and Prabhupada flew. He flew, that's why he was able to get here 2 weeks earlier. This is what the temple looked like when Prabhupada arrived. Just see how beautiful it is. Everything was open, spacious, airy, so beautiful. The guest house was ready. this. Now we're getting into the... these pictures are here because, you see, Prabhupada wanted specific things for the construction, like he, in 1974, in August, one sentence, where are the domes? There weren't any domes, so they had to make the foundation, they had to build the domes, and then they had the domes. So then Prabhupada wanted the whole temple to be marble. There was no budget for marble. And Saurabh didn't know what to do because Prabhupada wanted a marble temple. So Saurabh, he was so intelligent, and he designed everything. He decided, well, if we can't have marble, we'll have marble chips. And you'll see everything in the whole complex is marble chips. In our temple, underneath the paint, I'll try to make this a little bigger so you can... How do I make it bigger? I forget. Oh, Krishna. Is that how to make it bigger? No. Anyway, here you can see these colored columns? That's not paint. That's marble chips. And there are garlands going on these columns, white flowers, white marble chips. And then they're up here, Anantasheshas holding up the arches. Those are yellow. And then the arches, they're blue. All of those are marble chips that Saurabh designed by putting color into them, so that the whole temple would have a permanent design to it. It was so beautiful. The floors were marble, the walls were marble chips, and everything. For years and years and years, we didn't have to paint the temple because we had these marble chips. So the temple just looked so beautiful with that design. So that's why that picture is here. And the rest of it, the next picture, is how he had the artisans. There were 10 artisans. All the laborers, they were Muslims working under Alabaks and Muradi. And the special artisans who did the designing work, they were Hindus, and there were 4 very special mysteries who did this fantastic design work for the temple. So this is an example, and this form of artwork, Saurabh later called it Neo-Vedic, because nobody had ever seen anything like it. It was Vedic, but at the same time it was completely new. So he made a new architectural form called Neo-Vedic. So these are the team workers. This is Saurabh, Gunarnava after he became a Grihastha, and Bhagitji. This is Bhagitji, our godfather here, uncle of the temple. These are the devotees who Prabhupada honored because of all the donations that they gave. Now Guru Kripa, Prabhupada later will hear this anyway. Prabhupada told Guru Kripa that you're doing so much service as you're collecting to build this temple. Krishna is building for you a home in Goloka Vrindavan. And I've seen that home, and it's very beautiful. They worked so hard, $100,000 a month for 2 years to build this temple. And then after that was Bhaktivedanta Book Trust. That was all the book distributors who were, every time they distributed a book, that was going toward one brick in the temple. Now, an architect, he's able to determine how many bricks there are in a construction. For instance, when they had to build this, the Gurukula, Saurabh came here, and he was able to calculate. He told Prabhupada, we need 10,000 bricks. They know in advance exactly how much they have to get made, 10,000 bricks. So the BBT was sending money for the construction. Then the Birlas. So Prabhupada wanted the Birlas to come and stay in the guest house. And then after that, Bogilal Patel. He was an amazing devotee of Prabhupada and Krishna's from Ahmedabad. after the grand opening, Prabhupada was so kind, he went to stay in his house. We went with him also. Amazing devotee. I had never seen Prabhupada worshipped with such love and devotion and pomp. They were showering flowers on Prabhupada's head and worshipping his lotus feet, the whole family, and they lived in this incredible palace. Wonderful people. So these are the main donors of the temple. And Prabhupada had this put where it is now because Saurabh designed everything pre-designed. There are two rooms when you enter the temple. On the left-hand side, that was going to be where we distribute the prasadam, because you can see the way Saurabh designed it. Everything was open windows. See, this is the prasadam room. And these are windows that open up where you can buy the prasadam, because this was all empty, so the air could come in, the airflow. So this is where we originally had the Mahaprasadam sold from. And then on the other side, that was the preaching room. So we made a display for there, and people would come in and make donations and buy books like that. But it wasn't enough to attract people for the books. So then they made, over on this side, they made a book stall, and Vishal Prabhu, he was our book distributor at the grand opening. There were a few book tables, but he was the main books distributor here. Radha Kund Mataji, she also was distributing books in front of the temple. He was inside of the temple. So this is when the devotees finally arrived from Hyderabad, and Prabhupada sitting here on his Vyasasana. Now this is Mendra Das, who arranged for the jet airplane to bring all the devotees. And you remember what Prabhupada looked like in 1974 when he was sitting in his room here. This is what he looks like now. He's so happy. This is our beautiful temple, the sweet temple at nighttime. This is Bhavananda, who was able to get the whole temple area cleaned up in 13 hours. This is Saurabh. When Saurabh came here, soon after, his wife Kishore came here, and because Jamuna had left, she took the service that Jamuna was doing. She made the outfits for all of their lordships and arranged for the cooking, meaning getting the kitchen together, getting all the paraphernalia together for the worship. This is when Prabhupada enters the temple gate one morning. Now, Prabhupada had to get that grand opening going. He wasn't here, so he sent devotees to find the right Brahmins to do the yagyas. So Yashamati Nandana, he was, I forget his first name, but he's from the Yoshi family. They were Brahmins, from Gujarati Brahmins, Joshis. You've heard of Vishnu Jasha. That's going to be the father's name of Kalki Maharaj. So that's the Joshi family, very famous Brahmin family. So he came here, and he found a very qualified, sympathetic, and cooperative Brahmin, Vedacharya. His name was Bhim Sen Joshi. So Prabhupada approved of him. So Prabhupada called him, and Prabhupada had a way to test the different Brahmins. Prabhupada also called from some Brahmins from Hyderabad, because he had just come from Hyderabad, and they do everything so regally there. In Andhra, the Brahmins there. So he invited them to come to Vrindavan to see if they wanted to do the installation. So they came to an agreement, payment, where they would stay, all the details. And then Prabhupada says, all right, now you please take prasadam. They refused to take prasadam with the devotees. That was Prabhupada's test. So he explained to the devotees that because they refused to take prasadam from us, that means that after they do the yajna, they will say that these foreigners are not qualified to do the puja, and therefore we must stay and do the puja. And that way they will take control of the collections of the temple. So Prabhupada rejected them, just because they wouldn't take prasadam with the devotees. Then he called Bhimsen Joshi. Bhimsen Joshi was a Brijbasi. Of course he took prasadam with the devotees. So Prabhupada immediately, he made all arrangements and they started coming. So Prabhupada was here at that time, and Prabhupada's kitchen was just a hole in the wall. So the temple hadn't opened yet, of course. The deity kitchen was there, getting ready, and the deity pujari room, where we wash all of the deities, arti trays and everything like that. This same pujari room that we have now. So I was cooking for Prabhupada there in the pujari room. We had set up a kitchen, and we'd run everything, because what Sarab did was, he was so brilliant, and you can still see the line. If you take the parikrama of the temple, you'll see the wall there, and there's a diagonal line. So what Sarab did was, he made a secret stairway, and that stairway it joined Prabhupada's kitchen, the restaurant kitchen, the devotee kitchen, devotees, because where the restaurant kitchen is now, that was the devotee kitchen, and the restaurant was on the first floor. And he made a spiral staircase. Do they still have that spiral staircase? No, they broke it? Okay. Is it there still? But it used to be. You've seen it, right? Yeah. So that spiral staircase, everything that was cooked in the restaurant kitchen, in the devotee kitchen, and in Prabhupada's kitchen, could be run up to the deity kitchen and offered on the deity's plates. So, because Prabhupada, he made a rule that anything that's cooked, even the grihastas, whatever they cook, has to be put on the deity's plates. The grihastas here, if anyone got sick or if they had children or anything, they would take a cup of whatever they cooked, and through this staircase, they'd put it on the deity's plates. At least one of the deities. So, yes, so we were cooking for Prabhupada there, and it was lunchtime, busy cooking, and suddenly the door opens. And who was it? I'll show you who it was. Was it this man? One of these men back here. It was the Brahmins. They had come to set up everything for the yajna. And they opened up the door, they had all their baskets and their lotas and everything, and I said, well, who are you? We didn't know anything, who they were, nothing. They had come to set up the yajna. And that means we couldn't cook for Prabhupada anymore there, because they were going to take over the whole pujari area now, set up the kitchen, set up all the yajna, start making all the kotis. They had the yajna stalas, they made like 4 or 5 little kotis in the courtyard, and each day the deities would move from one place to the next place to the next place, getting ready for the 20th, the day of the big Abhishek, the Maha Abhishek. So we had nowhere to cook for Prabhupada, so then that's when Prabhupada's kitchen was started. So then at that time Prabhupada, because the temple was about to open, Prabhupada made a rule. He said, whatever is used for the deities can only be used for the deities. Whatever is used for me can only be used for me, for the Guru in general. So at that time Prabhupada made a division that everything for the deities, only for the deities, and anything for the Guru, it just stays here in his kitchen here. No mixing. So now the puja was starting, and Prabhupada was the yajnaman. Okay. Should I go on?
Yeah.
All right. Prabhupada was a yajnaman. Most of the time Prabhupada was in his room greeting the guests, calling the devotees, getting everything ready for how the feast would be. making arrangements for the governor's arrival for that day. He was busy with all the arrangements for the festival. He was also giving classes, and he was setting up 24-hour kirtan. That was a very important part of our grand opening, because according to Prabhupada, actually the only yagya required was Sankirtan yagya. So he arranged, because we had 1,000 devotees here, we had all of these purohits doing their yagyas, and Prabhupada wanted side by side, he wanted 24-hour kirtan to go on. So at that time he taught us how to set up this 24-hour kirtan. He said you have 6 parties. Was it 4 parties? I'm sorry, you have 4 parties. And each party does 6 hours. They do 3 hours in the morning and 3 hours in the evening. And in that way, 24 hours are taken care of, because you have 4 parties and 6 hours each party. But we had so many devotees here, Prabhupada said that anyone who doesn't have any service, they have to take part in these parties. And each of the zones could be these 4 different parties. So Australia had a party, America had a party, Europe had a party, India had a party, like that. Everybody had parties, and everybody had to show. It was Sankirtan party. Everybody had to show up, and the Sankirtan was just amazing. So loud, so beautiful, all the devotees dancing 24 hours a day going on while the puja was going on. So Prabhupada would come whenever he saw a devotee wasn't engaged, he would say, go do Sankirtan in the temple. So everybody had some engagement. So it was 3 days of yagyas. Every once in a while during the day they would call Prabhupada to do different pujas. They would touch different things to Prabhupada's hand, and after the Prabhupada touched it, then either they would throw it in the fire, they would put it down on the plate, there would be money, there would be ghee, there would be honey, so many different things Prabhupada had to offer, whatever Bhimsen was telling him to do. This is Bhimsen Joshi. So, now, 3 days of yagyas, and on the evening before the installation, on the 20th, this is the 19th of April, just around this time, Prabhupada says that we should have a Sobha Yatra. So Guru Das had come back for the festival. Prabhupada had sent a letter to Guru Das and to a very famous actor devotee. His name was Prajapati. They had a drama group somewhere in America. He said, Guru Das and Prajapati, they have to arrange 7 dramas to be put on 7 nights of the festival. And it should all be Krishna Leela. And when the devotees arrive here, Prabhupada will also personally instruct them in how to do these dramas. Because Prabhupada had, even with he had a big plan. One time we were with Prabhupada in Mayapur. This is just after the, just to show you how Prabhupada, he wanted everything to be Krishna conscious. Prajapati and his wife had come to show Prabhupada pictures of a dance performance they had done. He was very angry with them because they had done the dance performance with their back to the deities and their front to the devotees, so the devotees could see the dance performance. He was furious with them. How can you dance in the temple with your back to the deities? And he was chastising them. And his wife, Satarupa, was trying to explain to Prabhupada that we're sorry, but he was yelling, no, this is just whitewash. And Prabhupada was just getting more and more upset. And Tamal Krishna Maharaj was in the room. And Tamal Krishna Maharaj, he said, Prabhupada, why don't we stop all this drama and send everybody out on Sankirtan? And Prabhupada got angry. He said, no, that is one thing, this is another thing. So then he told them how to do it. And Prabhupada just had so many plans. So Prabhupada had plans also for our temple. He told Nayana Bharan Prabhu, he wanted a drama to be performed every night in the courtyard of our temple. And how they should do this is, they take Krishna book, and they have someone reading, a narrator. The narrator reads the story, and the actors, they act out the story in mind. They don't say anything. They're acting out the story while someone's reading the story. And in that way, every single night, you can put on dramas in Krishna Balaram temple. So Prabhupada, he wanted all types of culture to go on here. And this was, so he told Guru Das and Prajapati that when you get here, you have these 7 dramas ready, and then I'll give you more ideas what to do. And he also called Hargovindas Leela. He loved their programs. He wanted to take them all over the world because the Gaura Leela was so good. So now Prabhupada had Guru Das arrange the Shobha Guru Das, he had a big plan. He wanted to have 2 elephants at the front of the Shobha. So he calls the elephant man. He says, I want 2 elephants. And the elephant man says, well, you can't have 2 elephants. You can have 1 elephant, or you can have 4 elephants. So we had 4 elephants. That was the first thing at the front of the Shobha. And then after the elephants came a whole herd of cows. And these weren't ordinary cows like you see in Vrindavan. These cows were fat, they were beautiful, they were healthy, and they wore crowns. They had...
Where did you get them?
Here, locally. Yeah. Just at that time even, I don't know if they got it from this particular Goshala, but Akhandanandan Swami, he has a temple here. He had beautiful cows that used to go past our temple every single day. Big fat cows. Maybe it was those cows, I don't know. But these were beautiful cows and beautiful cowherd boys that came with them, that kept them on, because there was so much going on, they had to keep them all close together. And then they had brass bands playing all different types of Hindi bhajans. Then they had the 1,000 devotees. They had the junkies. Junkies are, the big, the ruts with the deities. We only had the 2 deities, the Utsav Vigrahas. We had Radhasham Sundar there. And they wanted Prabhupada to sit on the rut. Prabhupada didn't want to sit on the rut. He wanted to walk with the devotees. But there were 1,000 devotees. So, and not only were the devotees, but all the people, because it was Shobha, we were going through the whole town, all the people were coming out of their houses and their shops, and they all wanted to rush and touch Prabhupada's feet. They wanted to feed him, they wanted to give him something to drink, they wanted to garland him. So the devotees had to make a human chain around Prabhupada to protect him as he walked. Hopefully we have pictures of that. Yes, this is Prabhupada walking. And the devotees surrounding him on all sides. So that this is Mr. Patak, his ardent admirer. And so many, not just one kirtan, because there were so many devotees. There were so many kirtans going on with so many. There were about 1,000 devotees here. Yeah. So that means at least 10 kirtan parties. And it was just, it took up the whole, because Chatika Road was just this wide, so just the whole city was taken up by this beautiful Shobha. Prabhupada walked with the Shobha. Let's see if we have any elephants here. In the videos you can see the elephants. He walked until it got dark. He walked until, I think, until, what's that place called? The first Churai. The first one. Down here. Walking into the city. Just around Bihariji Churai. The one just before it. Vidyapit. He walked down to there. Then it got dark, so Prabhupada had to come back. He came back, but the devotees continued. They didn't get back till late at night. They were so excited, so exhilarated. Next day was going to be the grand opening. So now we're on the 20th, and everyone is ready. They have everyone, because of course we learned how to do all this from these Brahmins, so we do like this now also. We dress the deities in white silk. We put white silk around their eyes, and their eyes are sealed with wax. And early in the morning, the Brahmins, they send a message to Prabhupada. They say, now we're going to do the Abhishek, and after the Abhishek, we have to take the wax off of the eyes of the deities. And we need a big piece of gold to take the wax off of the eyes. And we also need jewels for a special part of the Abhishek. So Prabhupada, he says, I tolerated everything so far. All we needed was Sankirtan Yagya. We've just had 3 days of yagyas. We've done everything they've asked us to do, but no gold. So even then, they did a beautiful Abhishek, hundreds and hundreds of kilos of juices and milks and sacred waters, and then they, you know, just like we learned how to do with the sprinkling water, bathing them with the clean water, and then they take off the bands off of their eyes, they take off the wax, and they bring into the temple a beautiful young calf and a beautiful young girl. And that's the first thing that the deities see when they open up their eyes. So now the deities are going to be brought onto the altar to get dressed and fed, their first offering, 11 o'clock. And during that offering time, it was about an hour, Prabhupada had a big program in the temple with the governor and with all of the dignitaries who came. And first Prabhupada had all of them speak. You can see them all lined up here. The governor spoke. He praised Prabhupada, how he's been able to make this bridge so that now the whole world can become Krishna conscious. And then Prabhupada had his disciples speak in Hindi. And then finally Prabhupada spoke. He thanked everyone for taking part. He especially thanked the governor, who by that time they had become such close friends. And then, look, all of the, this is the governor's entourage. As many police as there are devotees practically. So, and everyone is speaking very highly of Prabhupada and how this temple is going to be a great success. And then Prabhupada speaks. And then just before the arti time, now of course all the devotees are in the kitchen, they're cooking. This is Pishima. She's on the floor cooking. She's got 4 stoves. We have coal stoves there. And these are her helpers with the, what are they called? The foot knives. What are these knives called? I forget the name. Botis. The botis, yes. They had so many botis. Everything was Bengali style. But then they, because the foreigners had designed the kitchen, they also had kitchen tops. They had both styles. Both styles were there. They had 1 stove for the deities, 1 gas stove, 1 cylinder. Everything else was done on coal and on kerosene. And they had some of the best cooks in all of Iskcon, because Prabhupada wanted everybody to come. Bojadev came, and Shanka came, Gopati came, Apurva came, you name it. Any cook that was famous, they came. Now, I skipped one part by accident. The one major problem that they had was that nobody wanted to be the head pujari. It was too big of a responsibility. Now the GBC, when they came here with all the devotees, even by then, there was no head pujari. And that means in 3 days, they had to find a head pujari for the Vrindavan temple. So first, of course, they were looking for the best pujaris in the world, because Prabhupada wanted this to be the first-class temple of India. So first they went to the president of the Detroit temple. His name was Govardhan Das. Beautiful deities there. And they asked Govardhan, this is the GBC, They asked Govardhan, would you like to be the head pujari in Vrindavan? And he said, thank you very much, but no, I don't think I can do that. He didn't feel that he was capable of accepting such a big responsibility. Then they went to another very famous pujari, and that was Narottam. He was the head pujari in Paris. And they asked Narottam, would you like to be the head pujari? And Narottam, he thought about it. He said, well, if I'm the head pujari here, it means I'll have the opportunity to learn the real traditional way to serve Radha Krishna. So he accepted it. He accepted the post of, first he had to take permission from his GBC, Bhagavan Das. Bhagavan Das also gave us permission. So he was going to be our first head pujari. He dressed, each deity was given one pujari. I forget, it's somewhere in the book who dressed who, but each deity had, Govardhan dressed one, Narottam dressed one, Jayatirtha dressed one, Drupada dressed one, and in that way all of the deities were being dressed, and then after the dressing they had the bhoga offering, which was more than 108 offerings, and even throughout while they were doing the offering, the bhoga offering, they were still bringing the preparations on. There were so many of them. So then after the bhoga offering was finished, Prabhupada comes in and he offers his obeisances at each of the 3 altars. And Prabhupada wanted to perform the first arti to Krishna Balaram. And again he called Brahmananda, and he told Brahmananda, you stand here at the curtain and don't let anyone touch this curtain, because Prabhupada wanted to open the curtain so that everyone could have darshan of Krishna Balaram for the first time. So he came out, he blew the conch, then he opened up the curtain and the arti started. Here's the arti. Yes, we can get a close-up of this, but I don't know what happened to my Zoom. I can't find it. I'm sorry. We won't be able to get a close-up because I can't find the Zoom. This is Prabhupada blowing the conch. This is Prabhupada offering the agarbatti. Prabhupada offering, first we had a beautiful silver ghee lamp. No, this is the camphor lamp. Then, like the way they have in Radha Raman, we didn't have ordinary ghee lamps. We used to buy these long sticks and break the sticks and make ghee wicks this big. We learned how to roll them that way, and we would make beautiful ghee wicks, and that's the ghee lamp, like that. Of course, Prabhupada warned us later, never keep silver and gold here in the temple. So eventually everything got stolen, and we had to reduce to, now again they have silver, but things are a little, now we have security also. We didn't have security in those days. So, but everything started out silver. Then Prabhupada offered the cloth, the chamara, and the grand finale. The most famous picture is Prabhupada smiling when he offers the peacock fan to all the devotees. And the devotees were just ecstatic. They were so ecstatic. They were jumping so high in the sky, and it was such a rush of devotees, you couldn't even keep your feet on the ground, moving this way and that way. The crush of the devotees and the ecstasy. Somehow or other, right in front of Krishna Balaram, the governor was standing there with all of his guards, enjoying the arti, and all the sannyasis were right in the front. But Vishaka Devi, she was able to push her way up, and she convinced Tripurari Swami to allow her to take the pictures, so we were able to get these pictures, and we're able to have the video also. So after the arti, Prabhupada wanted the dramas. And the first drama he wanted was by the devotees. And the first drama they did, it was a very funny drama. It was the slaying of Jarasandha. So everyone was enjoying that drama so much, and then I believe that's Akhandananda Swami sitting next to Prabhupada, and the governor. So then after the wonderful drama, all the devotees joined together and had a fantastic kirtan in the courtyard all together. And then Prabhupada, he sang the prayers for prasadam, Sadira Vidyajal, and prasad distribution started. And the guests were sitting everywhere. They were sitting inside the temple, outside the temple, all the way to the street. And Prabhupada had arranged, behind our temple was the Dandi ashram. Now we have Bhakti Dham and all those, but that used to be a huge ashram, Dandi ashram. He had arranged for a huge pandal there. Altogether there were 6,000 people taking prasadam all at the same time. He had put 6,000 all at the same time. He had put Yashamati Nandan in charge of the serving, and Yashamati Nandan had hundreds of devotees all at one time serving the prasadam out. And he had put Smarahari in charge of the cooking. Smarahari was our temple commander. And he gave Smarahari a menu. There should be rice, dal, 2 sabjis, samosa, kachori, and 2 sweets. Everybody got that. Everyone. And on top of that, another 1,000 special guests got rasgula and kheer. So this Prabhupada just went all out for this feast. 6,000 people. And he didn't sit down and eat. He and the governor went and inspected everything, that everything was going on nicely. And then he took the governor in to exactly where we're sitting right here. See, this door wasn't there. There was that was our one telephone in the whole temple. Our phone number was 178. So that was the temple telephone there. Prabhupada was sitting right there, and because this was our VIP room at the time, and just right over here is this column. You'll see other pictures of the column. So Prabhupada, he had the devotees, special, very good cooks, make South Indian khana for the governor, idli and dosa and all the things that they eat over there. But he couldn't eat it right away. First, his guards had to taste everything. Yes. They all had to taste everything that was cooked. And after they approved it, then the governor ate. So after that, and meanwhile, we had cooked for Prabhupada. We got in the Mahaprasada, made a plate for him. Prabhupada he didn't show up. He didn't eat anything the whole day. We were just running back and forth between the temple and here and where is Prabhupada? He's not coming to eat. Finally, about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I gave up because Prabhupada still hadn't eaten yet. He was so busy taking care of his guests. He just never got nothing. And maybe in the afternoon he ate something, I don't know, but he never got to sit down. Because right afterwards, immediately the guests wanted to meet Prabhupada. He's sitting there right at his desk, right next to his desk, meeting all of the special people. These are Goswamis that came from Radharaman, Gaur Krishna Goswami. He was the secretary of Radharamanji Temple. Oh, they loved Prabhupada so much. You just see how happy Prabhupada was welcoming them all. Now, in the evening time, because the governor's going to leave now, they only spent one night. So Prabhupada again arranges, you see the idlis there, Prabhupada arranges for the governor to have dinner with him. And they're talking, and they're discussing very high-end things. Because Prabhupada was ready to take over the whole world, and knew exactly how he was going to do it. But he needed a little help from the politicians. So he was explaining to the politicians how the education system should be, how the politician's responsibility has nothing to do with religion. It has to do with the four orders, because we always have the intelligent class, the administrative class, the business class, and the workers. And the politicians had to make sure that everyone was doing the work. So Prabhupada, he's explaining this whole Varnashram system and how we have to set up Varnashram colleges, and the governor is completely agreeing with him. Yes, we should have this Varnashram system, we have to do this, you know, and they're just getting along so nicely together. You can read all the transcripts of their talks together. So now, Prabhupada, it's evening time, he's come to sit on his Vyasasan, he's going to give class, and this is the grand success, the pinnacle of success for Srila Prabhupada. He comes as often as possible, all throughout the day and evening, to make sure that the artis are being done on time, to make sure the deities are being dressed properly, to make sure the pujaris know how to do everything properly, because in those days we didn't have men pujaris. It was all women pujaris. Even in India, there were only women pujaris. Narayani was the pujari in Calcutta. We had women pujaris in Bombay. We had women pujaris in Delhi. Everywhere it was women pujaris, because the men were out preaching all the time, making life members.
Bring it back, Mataji.
Bring what? Bring it back? No, not in Vrindavan. No. Everything's different in Vrindavan. In Vrindavan we have to do the way they do. So they don't have women pujaris here. It's only men. Of course not. No, it's all the Goswamis, yeah. No, you never see women doing the pujari seva in the 7 major temples. It's all men. So they had to find men, and they would make announcements. If there are any men who have any pujari experience, please come to the pujari department. We need pujaris, you know. They didn't have a clue where to find pujaris. So they were just picking them up from anywhere. So Prabhupada was going and checking to see, like Bhumipati, he gives his beautiful memories. It was just after this time. He was so nervous. He was just like a 15-year-old boy at the time. He was so nervous when he saw Prabhupada watching him do the arti that he blew the conch shell, but he blew it too quickly. Do. And Prabhupada said, "What, you don't know," you know, in Bengali, "What, you don't know how to blow a conch shell? Get out of here." You know, he would just a rasa, you know. So then he's practicing and you know, so then Prabhupada calls him one day, he says, "All right, you know how to blow the conch shell now?" "Yes, Prabhupada." "All right, tomorrow you do Guru Puja for me." So, you know, he's a little boy and all these big sannyasis are there, but Prabhupada made him do Guru Puja to make sure he knew how to blow the conch shell now. So Prabhupada's teaching everybody, every detail. Prabhupada didn't miss a thing. When they made the... Anyway, I won't jump ahead too much, but anyway, Prabhupada was just seeing every detail of everything. I'll just give one example, because the cooking. Now, Prabhupada was so expert. He knew exactly how many grams it takes to make one chapati. And he gave us this menu that you wouldn't believe the menu. We'll read it later. He gave us this menu. He counted how many chapatis, how many puris, how much atta you need, how much ghee you need. He had it all figured out. And he said, I'll just give it, I don't remember the exact numbers. He said, we're supposed to be using 4 kilos of ghee every day, but we're using 4 kilos and 250 grams. That means someone's stealing the ghee. He knew. He figured it out. Mathematically, someone is stealing the ghee. And then he had Dhananjaya, like an investigator, go and see where the ghee, the 250 grams every day is going. Dhananjaya found out. Because when and this isn't maybe I should turn off the... I won't give any names, okay? When the temple opened, one devotee who was cooking for the devotees, he came to cook for the deities. And he would, after he cooked the Raj Bhoga every day, he had an umbrella. And he would go see his friends at the Gaudiya Mat. In the umbrella, he would put the ghee. And then he would walk off with his umbrella and go to the Gaudiya Mat and give them the ghee. So when Dhananjaya came and reported that to Prabhupada, and this is their rasa, Prabhupada said to Dhananjaya, all right, you go tell him he can't cook for the deities anymore. Dhananjaya said, Prabhupada, I can't tell him, he's your god brother, you know. Prabhupada, I'm not going to tell him, Prabhupada, you're going to have to tell him. So yes, Prabhupada called him very sweetly. He said, we thank you so much for all that you've done. Now you can go, and you can go back to the Gaudiya Mat, and you can do service there. We're so grateful to you. Hari Bol. So, so Prabhupada understood everything. Nothing could be hidden from Prabhupada, nothing. And then one Mataji came to Prabhupada complaining, they're not giving me enough ghee. And then Prabhupada told her, no, Krishna and Balaram are young boys, they have to eat a lot. You have to know. So there would be so many cooking leelas going on in that kitchen. Oh, it was just amazing. So Prabhupada was watching everything that was going on, and he was coming every day for the greeting of the deities. Now how Prabhupada greeted the deities in the morning was, he would leave for his morning walk at 6 o'clock in the morning. He would walk briskly down the Chatikara road to a specific place. He knew exactly where that place was, so that when he stopped there and he came back walking briskly, he would reach the temple at exactly 7 o'clock. And then the devotees would greet him, he would enter the temple, and everything had to be exactly on time. There wasn't even a question of it being late. Like now, sometimes we'll be standing in front of Radha Shyam Sundar, and even the Govinda prayers are over and they still haven't opened. Don't even dream of it. Never. You never would have anything like that with Prabhupada. You don't keep Prabhupada waiting. Prabhupada would first go to Gaur-Nitai, offer his dandavats. He would walk on to Krishna Balaram, immediately the curtains would be open, no delay whatsoever. Then he would go on to Radha Shyam Sundar. Then he would come for his Guru Puja. Then he would give his class. Then he would go for his prasadam. Then everything clockwork, everything exactly the same, exactly on time. This is how Prabhupada was able to get everything done. This was the greatest lesson I learned from Srila Prabhupada. If you want to get things done, you have to be exactly efficient. And that means every single split second is used in what you want to accomplish. So that is exactly the way Prabhupada lived his life, and that's how he was able to do so much and establish so many temples and run the whole of Iskcon, because every single second Prabhupada had, he had a schedule. And wherever, even in time, like when, I don't know, you go abroad ever? Do you ever travel abroad yet? To other time zones? Not yet. When you go to other time zones, let's say you leave India at 12 o'clock and you reach America at 3 o'clock in the morning. So you leave at noon and you arrive at 3 o'clock in the morning, and you know your body clock is all messed up and there's something called jet lag. Prabhupada never, jet lag didn't even, to him jet lag didn't exist. If he would leave at 12 o'clock noon and arrive at 3 o'clock in the morning, for him it was 3 o'clock in the morning, and whatever he did at 3 o'clock in the morning in his day's schedule, that's what he was doing. Everything, wherever he was, He picked up the exact same schedule. He never said, no, I'm too tired, I can't give class today, never, never. Prabhupada just did everything, and in that way, 11 times he went around the world. Even after this, he had to go. Is it time? Okay. So Prabhupada, he was exactly like that. Even though he had done so much with this grand opening, he'd just come from a world tour, just come from the whole Mayapur festival, Hyderabad festival, Vrindavan festival, and he didn't stop. It was the 20th, now it was the 21st. Prabhupada kept going on. Every day he would call dignitaries into the courtyard and have them speak. And this went on for another week. 6 days after the grand opening on Ram Navami, that was yesterday, Balaram Ras Purnima, he did the marathon initiation. About 100 disciples were initiated on that day from all over the world. This is Vishwambar Goswami. This is O.B.L. Kapoor. Everyone got to speak, and especially Prabhupada, there was one very elderly Goswami, Nrsimha Goswami. Nrsimha Goswami was so endearing. Everything that Prabhupada was doing, Nrsimha confirmed through Shastra. One sloka after the other. How, according to the Shastras, anyone can become a Vaishnava. Anyone can worship Krishna. Just one sloka, the whole is like it was a walking Bhagavatam. And Prabhupada, after Nrsimha spoke, he thanked him so much. He translated his whole lecture into English so the devotees could understand that this is the proper mentality of the Vaishnava. Not that they're envious. Not that this is just pretend Brahman, not a real Brahman. So in this way, for the next week, Prabhupada had all of these great Goswamis and leaders in Vrindavan speak to confirm that this temple, now that it was opened, it was going to be accepted by all the major temples in Vrindavan. Now, that was daytime. Evening time, what did Prabhupada do? He sat under the tree. This is Gopal Krishna Maharaj right here as a Grihasta. He was our GBC then. So, Prabhupada would sit under the tree and he would have the devotees give Bhagavad Gita classes from 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock before the evening arti. And then he started Hindi classes. And Prabhupada would personally sit there while we learned Hindi. You see there on the board, on the blackboard? You see that? Everybody can see that? Yes. He would sit there and make sure that we learned Hindi. And every day, 4 to 5 o'clock, we'd all have to go there under the tree with Prabhupada, and he hired a Hindi teacher for us, and he would make sure we all came to the Hindi class every day so that we would all learn Hindi. That's Prabhupada. This is Prabhupada on a morning walk. This is the morning after the great grand opening on the 21st, when Prabhupada was remembering how Krishna was praising Balaram, and Prabhupada says to the devotees, you don't have to worry. Gaurnitai are here, Krishna Balaram are here. You have any problem, you just go before them and said, my dear sir, this is the problem, and they'll take care of everything. Nothing to worry about now. Balaram is here. Now, that morning of the 21st, Yadubara and Vishaka were here. So they arranged that the devotees have a group photo. So there wasn't enough room, there were so many devotees, so they had all the Matajis go up on the roof. And they had all the Prabhus down here, all the sannyasis surrounding Prabhupada. I'm sorry, my...
Control plus again.
Okay, show me
Just
now.
try. Oh,
It's not working, yeah, I don't know why. I'm not getting it.
Okay.
Sorry.
Plus sign.
Control plus. Anyway, I'm sure we have the picture right here. Yeah, you can see it on the way out. All the happy devotees all lined up. You know where I am?
Yeah,
I'm in the kitchen. I didn't come out of the kitchen even a single day. This is the Balaram Ras Purnima.
Somebody say it was Rasa.
Excuse me?
Somebody say that was Rasa.
No, this is Arya. Arya and her husband, Vijeta. They were hippies living on Juhu Beach in Bombay. And Prabhupada took his morning walk on Juhu Beach. They met Prabhupada. They joined in Bombay. So they were Bombay devotees. Of course, all the devotees came. For instance, Bhima Das. Because if this wonderful lockdown lasts long enough, we'll be able to go into the secret interviews of the devotees. And all their memories that didn't go into the proper book. The behind the scenes. So Bhima Das, he was telling the story of when they had that whole train come from Hyderabad to Vrindavan. It was only devotees in all the cars. And he was in a car, it was the Bombay car, and there was one devotee who he had never seen before. He didn't even sit on his seat, he just sat on his little trunk that he had. And he was just chanting the whole time, not like the other devotees, talking and sleeping and all that stuff. He's just sitting there chanting the whole way to Mathura. And when they got to Vrindavan, on this day, Prabhupada gave 2 sannyasis. One of them was Gaur Govinda Maharaj, and one of them I think was Tripurari Maharaj, if I remember right. So that was Gaur Govinda Maharaj who was sitting in the train. So wonderful devotees were all getting initiated on that day. This is Achyutananda Swami. He's about to do yajna for all the devotees.
Nirguna was
Yeah, Nirguna got initiated, right? She came from Calcutta. She was also just a little girl at that time. And the Gurukul boys. Because in America, the Gurukul had been closed down. So this is in the Dallas temple. So the Gurukul boys came here, and they were getting initiated also. And they were going right onto the altar.
Where is this place?
This place, yes, this is, that's our little room, the donation room in the temple. They had fixed it up very nicely. They're very proud. You can't see it, but just behind Prabhupada's cane, I think it's 7 o'clock.
Window is there,
Yeah, not the window. You see that little rod there? Well, that is a book display. We had all Prabhupada's books displayed. So we were so excited. Vishalini, she made this. She made this beautiful preaching room. And we were all so excited. Prabhupada had just taken darshan. He was just coming out of the temple. They brought him into the little room. They sat him down here on the chairs. What happened? He looks up. And there used to be a ledge on the top there. And he looks up, and there's a whole pigeon family up there with the eggs and the straw falling down on the thing. And he says, I'm the only one who sees this? Again and again, Prabhupada would tell us, I'm the only one who sees, and you were all blind. When Prabhupada would do his parikram around the temple, there always had to be a light bulb that somebody left on. And only Prabhupada would see it. Or there would be a tap dripping, one drop. But Prabhupada noticed the drop. That's the way Prabhupada, every single detail Prabhupada would notice. So that later in our life, because Prabhupada pointed it out, every time we see a drop of water, where's the general manager? Because we knew Prabhupada, every time we saw a light bulb on, even now, it doesn't matter what time it is, nothing. If I see a light bulb on, I have to run and turn it off because Prabhupada chastised us.
In the top of your shop, it's always there, and I don't know where is this.
Not my shop, it's Welcome Center. Top of the Welcome Center. Yeah. No, we turn our light off, believe me. No, Welcome Center, they don't know where the switch is either, that's the problem. That's why so we've been through it with them a lot. And then the leaf cups. Oh, if there was a leaf cup that somebody threw down, we would hear about it. So whenever you go around the temple campus, if you see a leaf cup, you better pick it up. Because Prabhupada's going to see that leaf cup. So from before Mangal Artik, I'm picking up the leaf cups. Because I know Prabhupada's going to yell at me if I don't pick up that leaf cup. So this is how Prabhupada trained us. Every single thing that we were blind about, Prabhupada saw. And he brought it to our attention. And we felt so foolish because we were so stupid that Prabhupada even had to show us these things. So that's what it was like living with Prabhupada. Now we'll go on from here, raising the standard, starting tomorrow. Any questions?
It's like, we have even now, without Prabhupada, so intense sometimes. I just cannot imagine how it was with Prabhupada.
Oh,
Such intense.
you were just getting chastised every day with Prabhupada. And that was his mercy. Because he was, he opened the temple in 1975, he left in 1977. And this was his most important temple. Mayapur hadn't opened, Bombay hadn't opened. He spent so much time training the devotees who lived here in those 2 years that you can never forget it. It's like branded in our brain, all the things that he taught. If we had just one little speck, when we polished something, he would see the speck. Everything, every detail, Prabhupada would see. Because he only had a short time to train us. And that's why we have to be very careful here in Vrindavan. He would tell us again and again in his lectures. Yes, sir.
Just like the lights are open, sometime I try to close the light.
Yes.
And just now some monkeys, they open the tap.
Yes, yes.
I close the tap.
Right, exactly.
Also I see, I just close the tap.
Right.
So I just see, observe what is going on. Just
It's
whatever I
everyone's
do.
responsibility to do these things. When Prabhupada chastised one person, it was for all of us, not just for that one person.
One thing I request this Brahma, if you can do after Sandhya Aarti, if you put up
Yeah,
this one and
he wanted it.
read Shampoo can do Sandhya
Yes.
Sandhya Aarti Brahma.
He wanted it.
Put up to Panchguru
But
Prabhu and
no-
we just start this one.
It's just that now the temple's so crowded, that's why we have the Balaram Hall. Now even Balaram Hall isn't big enough. We have the Krishna Hall. Hopefully we won't grow out of that too soon. So yes,
We should put up and
we did do it. We did used to have it, but now there's too many people. Actually, no. I'm sure Prabhupada still wants it, but the management has to decide to do it. That's all.
Be pleased.
Yes, he would be pleased. You're right. That's why he wanted it.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Yes.
Vrindavan is my home.
Yeah.
When did it, was it
On the
published?
40th anniversary, 2015.
Oh.
Yeah. You weren't here?
Huh?
You weren't here then?
I haven't heard of it. I've heard of nowadays.
What temple are you from?